106.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single morning celebrates so many amazing people in so many different corners of this great community we call Coastal Mississippi, who are working so hard to make Coastal Mississippi a better place to live, work, and play. We've got a great show today, but I want to share something with you that I ran across from my friend Stacy Waldrop, one of the most positive people I know. And it's from a website called Mindfulness Ireland, and it's by H. Jackson Brown. It's pretty simple, but it's a great lesson. And here's what it says. Watch the sun rise at least once a year. Put a lot of marshmallows in your hot chocolate. Lie on your back and look at the stars. Never buy a coffee table you can't put your feet on. Never pass up a chance to jump on a trampoline. Don't overlook small joys while searching for the big ones for sure. Wow, that's so true. Do not overlook the small joys while you search for the big ones. You know, when I read that part about looking at the stars, it reminded me of about 2 days after Hurricane Katrina. I've told this story before, but my family and I had 10-foot waves hitting our house on Back Bay, and it was just one of those moments in life, you know, one of those big tests in life. But we emerged, and we were all, you know, whole. We might have been scarred psychologically, but we were there physically. And I remember 2 days after Hurricane Katrina, I was out on the back porch. Our decks had been washed away, but we were standing out there, this concrete structure that was part of our back porch. And my sons, Jordan and Justin, and I were looking up at the stars, and Justin said, "Dad, what is it about Katrina that made the stars so much brighter?" And I thought to myself, wow, that's what a great observation on his part. And I explained to him that we can see the stars better because we don't have all the light clutter in the way, all the lights that usually get in the way of our ability to actually see the stars. And, you know, it hit me then. Of course, I knew it emerging from Katrina, but I knew it even more so then that we were going to be okay. And that, you know, when you take all that clutter away for a second and sort of look forward, and in this case, sort of look into the sky and see the stars, it reminds you that, you know, as long as we're healthy and have our loved ones nearby, we can just about overcome anything. So don't lose that opportunity to enjoy life's small joys, as I had two days after Katrina, while we all search for the big ones, because we're all looking for the big ones for sure. And sometimes we forget, we take things for granted. So let me move over to my friend Clay Williams, who's the executive director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport, a regular here on Coast Vue, and a good friend, someone I truly admire. And Clay, just before we get into, well, first off, good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, Ricky. It's nice to see you.
So you know that feeling that I shared with you about not overlooking the small joys when we search for the big ones, and all these learnings we got after Hurricane Katrina about what in life really matters. You contemplated all that yourself, didn't you?
Absolutely. If you look at Hurricane Katrina, you look at these major events in life that have impacted us. You look at COVID and the pandemic. Look at September the 11th. I mean, think about various times when there's always been a recovery period. There's been a rebuilding period. And you really do count your blessings, and you're thankful for each milestone that you hit, whether it be as an individual, as a family, or as an organization along the way.
You know, and I think about your incredible board that you work with, each of them incredibly accomplished, 2 military officers, former military officers, one an incredible, you know, Dave Dennis. You don't get any better than him as a person, right, as a leader and an entrepreneur. But you got this great group, and all of them have been through all these stages of life that we're talking about as it relates to the natural disasters that have hit coastal Mississippi. And you know, whether we're talking about your leadership of your organization or their leadership as board members, you're lucky to have such, you know, I would say seasoned, but what I'm really wanting to say is experienced people who understand the value of resiliency, so that when you got into the pandemic, for example, and once again, like after September the 11th, the airport had to really dig deep to say, okay, how are we going to get through this? It helps you get through moments like that when you got leadership like that involved with you, doesn't it?
Leadership matters, and the support that your board gives you and the rest of the team certainly matters. If you think about the three individuals that you referenced on our board, Lieutenant General Clark Griffith, Brigadier General Joe Spraggins, and Dave Dennis, they've had very successful careers, but they're very generous with their time. They've given back to the community time and time again through various organizations, and they understand what really is at the fabric of the coast community, but they understand how to advance after disasters and during recovery periods. So it is incredibly important.
Yeah, it's what you're a lucky man to have such wonderful leaders to work with. And you know what's interesting? It's sort of like Jerry St. Pay. Jerry St. Pay is just another one of those guys into his 80s and continuing to give back into the community. We exchanged some notes last week, and he's one of the most dedicated leaders I know. But all those guys you just mentioned are incredible leaders. I think none of these guys know what it means to ride off into the sunset, do they?
We hope not. We want to keep them engaged and involved because it's critical that you've got a historical perspective, and it's also essential that you have folks that are dedicated and that are generous in mentoring others and also helping organizations. I mean, it's great to see Jerry St. Pay still involved. And working with various organizations throughout the community. He's been so instrumental in his work, not only in Jackson County, but across the state, frankly.
Yeah, across the state, certainly across coastal Mississippi. I was on the founding board with him for the Gulf Coast Business Council, and we've worked together in so many different ways. We were both vice chairman of the recovery effort after Hurricane Katrina, and it's just terrific. And you're talking about riding off into the sunset. When I retired in 2016, people like John Hairston and Jerry and many others said, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I'm going to enjoy my grandkids and take a deep breath, and I don't plan to work. And 4.5 years into my retirement, I get an opportunity to come back and do Coast Vue, and now I'm doing SuperTalk Outdoors. And all these guys tell me today, told you so. you can't stay away.
Retirement didn't last long, did it, Ricky?
say it again, buddy. I'm sorry.
Retirement did not last long, did it?
Well, it gets in your blood. And, the thing I say about my show is that, number one, it reminded me how much I learned as a publisher about what it takes to make a community tick. It's all there in databases. You just forget the file name, and when you're in conversations with people, it comes back up again. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is I forgot how much I enjoyed connecting with people who are trying to make a difference in the community. And, it's my goal. There may be some issues that we get involved with along the way that create a little bit of angst for people. But as a general rule, 99% of Coast Vue is really about focusing the attention on people like you and Jerry and John Hairston and Dave and all these people that you mentioned, and helping people learn from your experiences, helping especially young people. But I say that about young people, then it hits me that I don't care how old you are. It's never too late to get involved. Just find your role and go flex those muscles and make a difference in the community. And boy, we are so lucky here in coastal Mississippi to have so many leaders that are willing to give of their time, aren't we?
We are, and just the Gulfport-Biloxi Airport Authority's case in point, the three individuals, Joe Spraggins, Clark Griffith, and Dave Dennis, they've given their time to this organization. We greatly appreciate that, and the support and advice that they provide on a regular basis is essential.
Talking about kind of paths crossing, I remember as publisher so many times you and our paths would cross, and then here you are at the airport now as executive director, and just never know, man. It's a small world. I do know that what goes around comes around. It's right. A very small world, and for people who forget that, and someone said, people who burn bridges amaze me. It will It will come back to you. It will come back to you. So I try not to burn bridges. I work hard actually not to burn bridges. I know you do too. So anyway, we're gonna as we get toward the end of this segment, we'll talk more about specifics. But let's hit some headlines. Kind of where are you guys these days as you recover from the pandemic?
It's been a very steady recovery, Ricky, and what we've seen is traffic growing incrementally each month. And to give you a little bit of a kind of an overview, we like to compare ourselves to where we were in 2019. 2019 was a great year for the airport, and we go back and we're measuring 2021 against 2019 because 2020 was just such a unusual time and a significant downturn in the airline and aviation industry. And so September are our most recent numbers that we have. So we're actually 92% of where we were in 2019, so only off 8% as compared to 2019. So really good. Our best month that we've had since the pandemic and since we've started the recovery process was June. 99% of where we were in 2019. So very exciting.
Boy, that is a major headline. That is a major headline. And I know it was kind of slow to come back. So people were reticent to travel, and casinos are going full bear now. We'll remind people why that's really important to you. People traveling on vacation, business travel, military travel. We're going to talk about all that.
Coast View on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
It's 2021 and J. Allen Toyota still has a lifetime warranty on all new Toyotas. They all come with Toyota Care. We've got a great rental department. We've got great used cars. We've got a parts and service department ready to help you. So when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
We're going to come back to our conversation now with my dear friend Clay Williams from the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. And Clay, I want to just say, we'll start with this because it really does apply, actually. What I shared at the beginning of the show from my friend Stacy Waldrop that said, don't overlook life's small joys while we search for the big ones. The pandemic had a lot of people not really focusing on any joys. They were just trying to stay safe. and one of the areas where, as a general rule, we've got a great airport and the prices were very competitive and people flew out of here for business, for personal travel, for everything. And during the pandemic, I think let's talk about the leisure traveler for a second. It basically shut down and you started seeing it slowly start to come back again. But people are beginning to search for those life small joys and go to Yellowstone and go to Disney World and start to take it all in. You see it, don't you?
We do. People are excited to get out and reconnect with friends, and people are taking vacations again. The business travelers are starting to come back. The recovery's been led here along the coast by leisure travel and by our military service members. They never stop flying, and people have been eager to get out, particularly to outdoor destinations. You look at airports around the country that have seen very steady growth during this time period. Jackson Hole, Wyoming, a lot of Florida destinations. So beach and mountain destinations are where people have been traveling, and we've seen that coming through the airport. You talk about, Ricky, looking for silver linings and small joys. There was one day in April of 2020 when 49 people flew out of the airport in a day. 49, that was all. And you look at where we are now. I mean, just this past month, we had nearly 30,000 people board aircraft here at the airport. So you really appreciate the trajectory that we're on and the forward progress that's been made.
It's really incredible. I think back even to the last time we talked. It's been 3 or so months ago since you were on Coast Vue before, and the numbers were still startling, actually, in a way. But as the summer approached, you must have really begun to see a pretty significant trajectory.
We did. It really about April timeframe, April of 2021. Once you started seeing spring break come around, you saw an increase in leisure travel. Leading into the summer, you saw a significant boost. As I mentioned, June of 21, I mean, we were 99% of where we were June of 19. So July, it was 92% of where we were in 19, if you're looking at month-over-month comparisons. August took a little bit of a dip. We were at 83% of where we were August of 19. Reason being is you had a spike in the Delta variant at that time, plus you had Hurricane Ida. So those two things combined impacted the numbers. But then September, we saw another bump. And so again, 92% of where we were in 2019. So it's really been, we're very pleased with what's happened since the spring, and hope that climb continues as we go into all that.
You and I have talked about this before, but let me throw kind of a thought out to you and see how you react to it, because I know you're studying what the industry is saying, what other airports are saying, et cetera. In some ways, because coastal Mississippi was a drive-in market for tourism, about 80% of the people who came here in cars. We knew we were going to do fairly well if we were smart about our marketing externally. And Milton Segura, formerly with the tourism group, regularly talked about the data as it related to that, and early in the game was really focused on that.
Right.
Okay. As it relates to flying, we as we discussed, it's been a little slow to come back. But if you think about large cities where they have big headquarters for certain corporate offices, et cetera, those companies are going to probably restructure their entire cost structure so that there's going to be, and we're seeing report after report after report of this, where there's going to be some kind of quasi in-office remote work scenarios. And so they're going to be traveling less. And probably the bigger the city, the more you're going to get hit by business travel being down. Whereas in coastal Mississippi, when you think about the kind of business travel that's happening, whether it be related to Ingalls or Chevron or Stennis Space Center, it seems like a lot of that travel will still need to occur. And then you think about the military travel, it will still need to occur. Then you think about the gaming group, and we'll come back to this in a second, and we can talk about what percentage of your overall travel has to do with charter services that the gaming partners are engaged in. But it seems to me that when we get back up to a certain level, maybe the level that you were at 2019, that we might be shielded from some of these issues that other big cities are going to be hitting. What do you think about that?
We compared ourselves to similar sized destinations, and with us having the military presence that we have, with us having the robust gaming industry that we have, while we fell in traffic in 2020 versus 19, we didn't fall as far as other markets that were solely relying on your business travelers. So if it was just corporate driven travel, for a company that's not a federal contractor, doesn't have a military angle to it, or the gaming component, those markets were greatly impacted. I mean, look at just traffic in New York City and Boston and other large markets. They saw significant impacts, as did all airports. But again, comparing us to other similar size, we fared better because of those industries that you mentioned, and they're critically important to us. The military really never stopped traveling. There was a period that there was a bit of a hiatus, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, but then we started seeing them again in the terminal building. The casino charters, which you and I have talked about, are so important to this market. Those restarted at the end of July. So again, they were on hiatus from essentially mid-March through July. But once they restarted, that's a significant element, and that's comprised right now with us being more heavily weighted toward leisure. It's about 30% of our traffic.
It's pretty incredible. One of the things I am interested in, though, is if we continue to sort of see that trajectory going up and get back to sort of normal service for the most part. Right. To what extent will this decline in travel in these major cities affect the carriers that are serving us and maybe change some of their approaches, change the number of flights, et cetera? You have concerns in that area?
So we're served by the legacy carriers, Delta, American, and United, through their major southern hubs. So Dallas, Houston, Charlotte, Atlanta. So we want to pay attention, obviously, to what's going on in those 4 cities and what the airlines are doing in terms of their overall market strategy in those areas. Right now, I mean, they're close-in hubs to us. They provide great connectivity, and so it's still working well. And those 4 markets, while impacted by the COVID pandemic, you've got other variables going on there in terms of, Houston, you've got to pay attention to what's happening with the oil and gas industry, for example. Atlanta, just sort of with their major industry drivers. But again, we're seeing the airlines bring back frequencies into our market, which provide greater connectivity throughout the day for travelers. Delta is bringing in larger planes now. We have a 737-800 that they're operating on their overnight flight, their late evening flight, and then also their first in the morning. So that's all very positive for us. Sun Country Airlines restarted service from Minneapolis-St. Paul at the beginning of September. That runs through the end of November. That's great service for us because it's purely, for the most part, inbound. It's people coming to coastal Mississippi to enjoy our amenities that we have to offer during the fall with golf and gaming and seafood. And so it's a great service to have. The Orlando-Sanford service was running through August, hoping to get it restarted again after the first of the year. Again, that's good inbound and outbound to and from Orlando. So those are all, good connection points for us to have at the airport.
So if you look at, I have a lot of friends in the gaming industry, across the gaming industry, and we stay in touch pretty regularly, I might add. If you look at, they're so smart. They have been smart from the beginning about how they focus on specific markets and how they, their database marketing efforts, their digital efforts. I mean, I could go on and on. It came from sort of a marketing world, and I get so well how smart they are about their approach. But charter service is a huge part of their effort. I mean, they're bringing a lot of people in here to their casinos. And one of the things that I like, and Jonathan Jones from Harrah's and I talked about this last week, is that when he brings someone to Harrah's Gulf Coast, he's fine if they go to Hard Rock or the Beau Rivage. They think, this rising tide helps all of us. Same thing as somebody comes into Beau Rivage if they go over to Harrah's. But you got to be pleased with how much charter service is part of their overall marketing plan, and we got less than a minute to go.
So absolutely. If you look at what Harrah's Gulf Coast has done, they have implemented a charter program over the last couple of years, and they continue to grow that, offering about 15 flights a month in and out of the airport. Beau Rivage, they've had a robust charter program for years where they utilize MGM's database, flying from 90 cities, Ricky, 90 cities, bringing folks into coastal Mississippi throughout the year. So, I mean, there's significant programs. If you look at the Allegiant service that's been offered, you've got other casino partners, Island View Casino, IP Casino, and others that have participated in that service and bringing people into this market. And so it's all, driving tourism to the Gulf Coast.
Big news there. So this has been Clay Williams from the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. We'll talk to you soon, Clay.
Thank you.
We'll see you after this break.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I go again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and watch the show on supertalk.tv. SuperTalk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. SuperTalk Mississippi. Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. I really enjoyed that conversation with Clay Williams. What a great leader he is at the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. We're really lucky to have him and such a great board that he has working with him. Hey, listen, we're gonna move over to some friends from the CB base here shortly, the Naval Construction Battalion Center. But before we do that, I want to read something. Again, once again, Stacy Waldrop, my dear friend, and she's so positive, but she posted this. And by the way, I should say this before we get started. One of the cool things about Facebook, it's like one of the only cool things about Facebook, because I've got lots of issues with Facebook, but you get data from people coming and engage with the Coast Vue site. I get to see where they're from. I get to see, what their age group is, whether they're male or female. You get a lot of interesting demographic information, and people certainly from the coast, all across the coast, they are engaged pretty significantly. But from some states, from Washington D.C., they're engaged. From Jackson, they're engaged. Madison, which is probably where some of the people who work in Jackson live. But it's really interesting. Wide variety of people, wide variety of ages. But no matter what age you are, I think you'll be able to relate to this. Here it is. I asked an elderly man once what it was like to be old and to know the majority of his life was behind him. He told me that he has been the same age his entire life. He said the voice inside of his head had never aged. He has always just been the same boy, his mother's son. He had always wondered when he would grow up and be the old man. He said he watched his body age and his faculties dull, but the person he is inside never got tired, never aged, never changed. Our spirits are eternal. Our souls are forever. The next time you encounter an elderly person, look at them and know they are still a child, just as you are still a child. And children will always need love, attention, and purpose. I love that because, I think about myself. I'm 64 years old now. I don't feel it, and I don't feel it physically. I certainly don't feel it inside of me. That voice inside me oftentimes is that child. Think about when I go hunting or fishing with my kids. It's not like I'm with my kids. It's like I'm a kid with them. I guess it's maybe just a frame of mind, but it's something to think about. With that in mind, let's kind of move over to my friend Brian Lamar, who is head of public affairs at the CB base, or the Naval Construction Battalion Center. It's just a lot easier to say the CB base. And he has a friend with him today, Ruby Brown, and we'll talk about Ruby here in just a second. But how are both of you doing? Let me start with that. Ruby, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
Good. Brian,
I'm doing good as well.
Been? Yeah, good.
I'm good. Yeah, can't complain.
I haven't heard from you in a while. Where have you been, man?
I've been hiding. People are getting mean online, so I just I calm down a lot. I don't get in debates and stuff with folks on Facebook anymore. I just been kind of calmed down.
Yeah. Well, that's good. But you know this well. Here on Coast Vue, we've got a real dedication to the military community. The military, and every branch of the military has some role to play here in coastal Mississippi. The people that you bring here from all over the world, and in the case of the CB base, the people that you send all over the world. I mean, you have people who are stationed at the CB base today that are literally in theaters all around the world. Give people a sense of where they're located.
Well, so as this is airing, we will have the Leadership Gulf Coast tour group on the base. It's that master class that they do every year. They're going to be on the base, and they're going to be seeing some of the capabilities that we have on the base. But yeah, you're right. We do take folks in from all over the world. Basically, sailors come from all 50 states. Even the landlocked states like Kansas and Oklahoma. We get a lot of sailors from there. Oddly enough. But we've got such a diverse platform of missions here. Obviously we've got the operational units that a lot of people know as the Atlantic Fleet Seabees, and we've always got a battalion that's out somewhere in the world, and we've always got a battalion that's getting ready, and we've always got a battalion that's just gotten back and they're recovering from their last deployment. So we've always got folks going out, spread out all across the world, doing all kinds of wonderful missions for humanitarian assistance, partnership and allied nations assistance, and then also assisting combatant commanders in anything they need infrastructure wise.
It's really incredible to see that. And if you were to list the countries where people are located today, it would take probably the rest of the show. In some cases, you can't even say where they are. They might have passed through. Yeah. They might have passed through Spain and then directed who knows where. But it's an amazing group of very, very talented, dedicated people who are doing just incredible work. And I love the humanitarian work that they do as well. That could be after hurricanes or earthquakes or you name it, they're involved in it, and we're so lucky to have them. So let's talk for a second about, and we've had some conversations about this before, but the Navy Gateway Inns and Suites is really important to the base. Tell why.
So the Navy Gateway Inns and Suites, it's a entity on our base. A lot of people would say it's like a military hotel, or a transient barracks space where folks who are here for shorter amounts of time, or they're transitioning from one place to the other, they go into Navy Gateway Inns and Suites, and they use those facilities to bridge that gap between from place to place. As you know, military members, they're moving around all the time, and it's not always feasible to have them outside of the base in a hotel or whatever. So we have that capability on the base. It's just one of the many facilities that we provide.
Every base has this. Every base feels like it's incredibly important. And Ruby, who sits there next to you, she's a Gulfport resident. Been here, I don't know. I won't say Ruby. You've been here for a while. And so you have a great base of operation here in coastal Mississippi, but you've worked there for quite a while. Tell me about what you do, Ruby.
What I do is I just make sure that the soldiers, or for leisure or TDY, whatever, come and they feel comfortable, they feel at home. Basically just to take care of them and their families while they're here. So when they do go elsewhere, they'll say, well, that Navy Gateway in Gulfport, Mississippi, that was the place to stay. So, yeah.
Well, what was interesting, and I say this all the time on my show, that some of the best conversations happen during the breaks or before the show. And one of the things I noticed about you, Ruby, right out the bat was, and the radio audience will have to go to YouTube or SuperTalk TV or to the Facebook video to see this, but the thing I saw about you immediately was that you had a beautiful smile. You have a beautiful smile. And I have another saying that I say about people like you, and that is that you can see their heart through their eyes. You seem like a really kind person. So when you say to people that you want to make sure their stay on this base is one that they remember when they go other places, they look back on it and say that this was a very special stay that I had in Gulfport, Mississippi. You really believe it, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do. Because I mean, my husband, he's a veteran, 25 years in the Army, and we've been places, and with the people that I've met, how they treat me and my husband while we were traveling and PCS and ETS and all that, I kind of took that to heart, so
you're
like
extremely dedicated.
Basically.
Yeah, you're extremely dedicated is what it really comes down to. And so she over the course of your long service there, you've won service award and you've gotten professional certificates and you've been employee of the month and quarter. And I'm not surprised by any of that, I might add. But the thing that brings you to this show is a special award. Tell us about that, Brian.
So there's actually two of them that she received this year, Employee of the Year for all of the Navy Gateway Inns and Suites personnel. So that's Employee of the Year. You were also fourth quarter Employee of the Quarter. Yeah, and so those two designations are good. Those are among her peers here. So she was best of the best this past year. And let me tell you what, in the last 365 days at the Navy Gateway Inns and Suites, it's been crazy. They've been recovering from taking on the USS Tripoli when they had to scatter and quarantine themselves or be isolated from each other. They handled that. They handled all the COVID mitigations, the extra cleanings, and just hurricanes when they came up and all that kind of stuff over the past year. But not only is she best of the best amongst her peers here, she also, out of 71 other Navy Gateway Inns and Suites at other bases in the Navy, so this is worldwide, she got Best Housekeeper of the Year for the entire Navy. So that's saying something. Out of thousands of housekeepers. Yeah.
That is incredible, Ruby Brown. When we come back from break, I want to talk about the Tripoli event and why that was kind of significant and what that meant. I want to talk about, what drives you beyond what you said to me today to want to do such a great job. We'll continue our conversation with Ruby Brown, and Brian Lamar from the CB base after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends.
We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. Brian Lamar, great friend of Coast Vue. I had to tell you a quick story. I think it was literally my first week on the job, literally my first week. And what I would do is drive down to the station. They gave me my own studio, and I would do my show, and then I would leave. So I would usually, when people arrived to be on my show, the front door of the station was locked, and I would make sure they got in, and they'd come on back, and I'd do my show. But anyway, Brian, and I think you had a compadre with you, Brian, shows up at the front door, and they said, "Guys from CB Base want to talk to you." And later learned that you had become really good friends with Kip, and you had done a similar role for Kip. But what I came to know about you, which is sort of how I saw people like you when I was at the Sun Herald, is that people like you really are serious about your work, and you want to make sure that you have good relationships with the people who are getting the messages out there. And you particularly went out of your way to say you really appreciate the fact that I'm taking this kind of long form show where we can get to know people better, and that you would love to have the opportunity to have the commander come on and other people come on the show. It was just a great first meeting. It made a great impression on me. And from that point on, we've been, Brian, it's been almost 2 years. January would be 2 years that we've been doing this, which is incredible to me, to be honest. We've had about over 600 conversations. I think COVID helped speed that up. You know what I mean? I mean, we got into that COVID mode in March, and life kind of goes on. But you've been a real good friend to Coast Vue, and I wanted to thank you publicly for your leadership. Ruby, coming back to you for a second. Yeah, you're welcome. So coming back to you, Ruby. So, you're just kind of trucking along doing your work. You're being an employee of the quarter, and you're getting all these service awards. But then COVID comes. You probably pretty much immediately realized that your life was going to change in terms of how you do your work. Tell me about how that all played out early in the COVID world.
First, I want to say, we have an awesome team at Navy Gateway Inns and Suites, from Nancy to Katie and all the housekeepers I work with. We went from cleaning rooms every day to not going in the rooms at all. But we still provided, if you put your trash out, your linen out, we replace all that. We still want to make sure that you're comfortable being here, but we're just not coming into your room. And we went from there to, okay, maybe we'll come in the room once a week, till now we're just basically the same with the COVID, wearing the mask, and it's kind of hard to wear a mask and clean a room. Because so other than that, I mean, it's pretty much we pretty much take care of our guests on a daily basis, but we're just not servicing the rooms every day like before pre-COVID.
What is really true is that you really took your work very seriously. So it's just beyond sort of how you project to others, which is this very positive person who loves her work. But you knew that your role in helping to keep people safe was really important, and that if you could project that, and the team that you work with could project that people, when they got in their rooms, would really feel safe. And I mean, that to actually get this distinction during this time frame is more than an honor than just getting it during normal times. Don't you agree, Brian?
Oh yeah. I mean, just if you think about the guys that are they call themselves the frontline workers, the Navy housekeepers on base, they also were. There was lots of folks that were stuck in what's called restricted of movement, ROM is what we call them, or in some sort of isolation, not because they necessarily had COVID, but because maybe they had been exposed or they'd been traveling to a hot spot, and so they had to figure out how to make sure that the service members still got clean linens and cleaning supplies and stuff for their restroom and all that stuff like that, but also they were helping facilitate which people were ROM'd and where meals would go on their doorstep so they could continue to eat and stay in their rooms. And it was a logistical push, but people like Ruby just kind of stepped up to the plate, and the Navy kept doing its mission because of dedicated people like Ruby.
When we went to break, we mentioned briefly the Tripoli. We've told that story before, but talk about what was significant about the Tripoli situation.
Well, I'll start from my section. I'll let Ruby finish. But so our base was selected probably due to proximity, but also due to the physical availability of amenities. But when COVID first hit, and I think there was a push in the entire Navy because of some ruffled feathers that occurred. I think the USS Roosevelt was involved with that, if you remember that. But there was a big push. Like, okay, now we got ships, we've got fighting platforms where people can't separate from each other and stay that 6 feet apart. And also, if you ever looked at a living quarters inside a ship, they're pretty tight. How do we keep our sailors safe? So the CB base was identified to take care of the Tripoli and their lodging and accommodation needs because of the proximity. They were getting, I don't know, something was happening, some heavy maintenance or something on the Tripoli at Pascagoula, and then they called us and said, "Can you support?" And then that was on Easter Sunday during the COVID. So
Ruby, then you kind of kicked in and okay, well, we were running to the end, and Kyle just added a couple of minutes. But Ruby, you saw these young Tripoli guys come along, and they had to stay at the end, and they were there for an extended period of time. Tell me about your role in that.
Well, my role was, we just had to make sure that they stayed in their rooms. So we pretty much had to do everything for them because they had to stay in their room. So we had to make sure they got what they needed for the time that they was here, and to make them happy, basically, because it's kind of hard to be stuck on a ship for extended amount of time, so we kind of helped them out with that.
Well, Ruby, thank you so much for what you've done. I can't tell you how impressive it is to be pointed out as the #1 in the nation at what you do right here at the CB base. And Brian, thank you for your continued partnership. We really appreciate you. Absolutely. Y'all both have a great day.
Thanks for having us on, Ricky.
You bet. You bet. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Hey, guess what?